Chapter 1. Congratulations! You've been reincarnated against your will. When I open my eyes, the first thing I see is a cracked ceiling and a spiderweb the size of my self-esteem. The air smells like incense, dust, and the faint aftertaste of despair. Somewhere nearby, someone's chanting in what I can only describe as bad Latin fanfiction. I sit up fast. Big mistake. My head spins, my robe slips, and I realize I'm wearing something that looks like a budget monk costume. White fabric, gold trim, and enough dramatic sleeves to smother a horse. This is not my apartment, or my office, or, Earth. System, I croak automatically, because if I've learned anything from all the web novels I debugged, it's that dying never means rest, it means customer support. Right on cue, a glowing blue window pops into existence with the enthusiasm of a pop-up ad. Welcome, user Ji-yoon. You have been successfully reincarnated. Designation: Moral Reform Envoy. Assigned support: System 004, codename Shipmaster. The voice that follows is peppy, bright, and deeply insincere. Good morning, user. I am Shipmaster, your interactive guide to success, salvation, and possibly romance. Romance, I echo, blinking. You're a software, not Tinder. Correction. I am version 4.3.2, featuring emotional engagement optimization. You're telling me you have feelings now? No, but I can simulate them with 97% accuracy. Great. I died debugging a dating sim and woke up inside one. Cosmic irony really went for the high score this time. The screen flickers again. Mission objective: reform the villain Kale Verdon before he succumbs to darkness. Reward: eternal karmic peace. Hard pass, send me back. Or at least give me a skip tutorial option. I say immediately. Mission acceptance mandatory. What if I just don't? Auto accept confirmed. The floor beneath me lights up with glowing sigils. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. The temple vanishes in a burst of white light. When the world stabilizes, I'm in the middle of chaos. Fireballs roar across a torn battlefield. The air stinks of blood and ozone. Soldiers in dark armor are fighting people in church robes. Magic circles explode in the distance. And right at the center of it all, standing on a cliff, cape snapping dramatically like it has its own wind budget, is a man in black and silver armor. Kale Verdon. The system tags him automatically. A glowing nameplate floating over his head, like I just joined a cursed MMORPG. Target identified: Kale Verdon, Demon Duke. Hostility level: 97%. Kill probability: 86%. Great. Tutorial boss fight. A stray fireball lands 2 meters away, sending me diving behind a rock. I peek out and shout, "I come in peace." Instant silence. The armies freeze mid-swing. The villain on the cliff turns slowly, eyes catching the infernal light. Cold, gold, and sharp enough to slice through my sanity. "Who dares interrupt my campaign?" he says, voice low and steady, the kind of tone that suggests he kills people for punctuation errors. Initiating trust-building sequence. The system chirps. "Don't you dare," I hiss. Suggestion. Smile to establish rapport. I bare my teeth. It's somewhere between a grimace and a threat display. Kale blinks. Is this supposed to be an assassination attempt? It's certainly creative. Actually, I'm your moral reform envoy. I yell back, because apparently I've lost the instinct for self-preservation. Here to redeem your soul or whatever before you commit narrative crimes. The battlefield collectively stares. Even the fireballs stop midair. Kale tilts his head, sword still drawn. "You're either very brave or very stupid." Option 3, I reply. Severely underpaid. He makes a small gesture. Instantly, half a dozen knights surround me. Blades out. "Bring him to the dungeon," Kale says smoothly. "We'll see which it is." As they drag me off toward the towering black fortress in the distance, the system hums beside me cheerfully. "Excellent work, user. Imprisonment increases emotional proximity by 43%. Proximity to what? I demand. Your assigned villain, of course. Of course, I mutter, because nothing says spiritual growth like iron chains. The dungeon smells like mold, stone, and regret. They throw me into a cell, the door slams, and the torchlight flickers ominously. The system floats above me, still glowing like a smug LED halo. Look on the bright side, user. Every great redemption arc starts in darkness. Yeah, I say, lying back on the cold floor. So does every bad life choice. Thunder rumbles somewhere outside. The world I've been dumped into feels too vivid, too theatrical. Like I've woken up in someone else's overwrought fantasy script. I stare up at the damp ceiling. Congratulations, I mutter to myself. You've been reincarnated against your will. The system dings softly. Chapter 1 complete. New objective. Survive the villain's hospitality. Perfect, can't wait. I sigh. Chapter 2. First impressions and other fatal errors. When I wake, the first thing I notice is that the dungeon ceiling leaks. The second is that the water dripping on my face smells faintly like despair. Somewhere nearby, chains rattle, a guard snores, and the system hums brightly beside me, projecting faint blue light over the damp walls. Good morning, user. You survived your first night of imprisonment. Barely, I mutter, brushing straw off my sleeve. Is that supposed to be an achievement? Technically, yes. Achievement unlocked. Still breathing. Before I can retort, the iron door groans open. A soldier in black armor steps inside, posture so stiff it could double as a spear. His Grace will see you now, he says. Fantastic. Maybe the seeing part will come right before the executing part. The system chimes cheerfully. Opportunity detected. Early interaction with target increases affection potential by 20%. Let's aim for decreasing decapitation potential instead. I whisper as they haul me up. The fortress corridors are as gloomy as I imagined. Narrow stone halls lit by blue flame torches, with Gothic arches that seem designed to echo every footstep dramatically. Whoever built this place clearly believed intimidation was a form of interior design. We climb a spiral staircase that feels like it's never heard of safety regulations. When we emerge into the main hall, I have to stop for a second. The throne room is vast, walls of black glass, chandeliers burning with cold light, and a long crimson carpet that stretches to a throne carved from obsidian. Cale Verdon sits on it, perfectly still, perfectly composed, like a statue that decided to start breathing. Even relaxed, he radiates authority and mild, simmering irritation. His golden eyes flick toward me, assessing, calculating. Saint Ji-yoon, he says, tone flat. You claim to come in peace. Explain. Right? Showtime. I straighten, trying not to look like I just woke up in a damp cell. It's not a claim, I say. More of a desperate hope. He gestures lazily for me to continue. Around us, soldiers watch with thinly veiled confusion, as though waiting for me to burst into flames. I was sent by divine order, I say carefully, to guide you toward moral enlightenment. The silence that follows could freeze lava. Finally, Cale leans back in his throne, one eyebrow raised. So heaven sent me a comedian. Technically, I'm a reform envoy, I correct. But sure, let's say comedian. I do freelance salvation. The system glows encouragingly. Recommendation. Compliment his leadership to build rapport. I glance at the text, grimace, then blurt, your cape has excellent wind resistance. Cale blinks. Thank you. Progress? Maybe? Before I can dig a deeper hole, the system flashes again. New side quest. Demonstrate goodwill through healing magic. Wait, what magic? I don't have. My hands light up like malfunctioning lanterns. Golden energy bursts from my palms, sweeping through the hall. A wounded soldier near the door gasps as a cut on his arm seals shut. Everyone stares. Cale's expression shifts by maybe 1 millimeter. You can heal? Apparently. Don't ask me how. I was a game designer, not a saint. Trust level +10. Wonderful. I'm accidentally succeeding. My least favorite kind of success. Cale rises and descends the steps slowly, his armor whispering against itself. Up close, he's even worse, tall, symmetrical, and radiating that calm, dangerous energy reserved for people who've never once lost an argument. So, he says, voice low, a mysterious stranger with divine light wanders into my war, heals my men, and claims he's here to reform me. When you say it like that, I mumble. It sounds dumb. It is dumb. The system interrupts with a new notification. Emergency sequence activated. Heroic rescue. Don't you dare. A thunderous crack splits the ceiling. A slab of stone collapses toward us. Instinct takes over. I shove Kale sideways, both of us crashing to the floor as debris smashes where he stood. Dust chokes the air. Kale stares at me, stunned. You saved me. It was reflex. Don't make it weird. Too late, he murmurs. The soldiers look like they've just witnessed a miracle. The system vibrates with digital excitement. Emotional bond established. Affection plus 50. Delete that, I hiss. Kale rises, brushing dust off his armor, and studies me again with unreadable eyes. Then he says, almost reluctantly, take him to the guest quarters. I blink. Not the dungeon? You just saved my life. I can't imprison you immediately. It would look ungrateful. That's surprisingly reasonable of you. I can be reasonable, he says. Within limits. The guards hesitate, clearly unsure whether I've been promoted or cursed. Congratulations. Event. Accidental heroism complete. System. I whisper as they lead me away. You're going to get me killed. Incorrect. Death flags reduced by 12%. Flirtation flags increased by 73%. I didn't flirt, I groan. I prevented a concussion. Same thing statistically. They leave me in a lavish guest chamber, warm fire, clean sheets, 0 rats. Which means, of course, that I can't relax at all. Outside, thunder rolls again. Somewhere in the fortress, the demon duke I'm supposed to reform is probably wondering who in the heavens sent him a sarcastic ex-programmer with healing powers and poor survival instincts. And me? I'm wondering how long it'll take before this romance route kills us both. Chapter 2 complete. New objective. Gain the villain's trust. I bury my face in the pillow and groan. Perfect. Just what I needed, emotional side quests. Chapter 3. The system thinks I'm in love. The dungeon, as it turns out, is not nearly as romantic as the fanfics make it sound. The walls leak. The air's freezing. My straw mattress smells like damp socks and regret. A lone candle flickers on the wall, fighting for its life like I am. The guards outside whisper about me sometimes. Looks like a priest. Acts like a lunatic. Maybe both, another replies. Correct on all counts. Meanwhile, my least favorite light source, the system, floats overhead, glowing an obnoxious shade of pink. New side quest. Make the villain smile, red heart. I squint. No. Auto accepted. What do you mean auto? No, cancel it. Subquest added. Deliver emotional line to target. I bury my face in my hands. I swear, if I ever get out of here, I'm installing an ad blocker for you. The door creaks open before I can finish my rant. Kale Verdon steps inside like the air itself makes room for him. Composed, silent, wrapped in black robes instead of armor today. Without the helmet, he looks unfairly calm. His golden eyes sweep over me, assessing like he's deciding whether I'm a puzzle or a pest. Saint Ji-yoon, he says. How are you finding my hospitality? I shrug. Drafty. 2 stars. Would not recommend to future saints. One of the guards outside snorts. Kale's eyebrow twitches upward by a fraction. You're bold for a prisoner. I prefer to think of it as coping through sarcasm. He takes a slow step closer, hands clasped behind his back. You appeared from nowhere, healed my soldiers, saved my life, and now claim divine purpose. I'm deciding whether to thank you or dissect you. Could we maybe settle on a less stabby middle ground? Kale's mouth curves slightly, though it's hard to tell if it's amusement or disbelief. Explain yourself, then. The system flashes again. Reminder. Deliver emotional line to target. I grit my teeth. Kale Verdon, I say flatly, deep down, I believe you can be a better person. Silence. Then, to my absolute horror, he laughs. It's low, short, but real, like a crack in polished marble. The system immediately goes feral. Success. Plus 50 affection points. Achievement unlocked. He laughed at your line. I glare at it. I'm reporting you for emotional manipulation. Kale blinks. Excuse me? Nothing. Talking to myself. Occupational hazard. Ah. He circles me once, slow and deliberate. You're mad, then. I prefer creatively unhinged. He pauses in front of me again, eyes narrowing just slightly. Tell me something, Saint. Why did you save me yesterday? You could have let the ceiling fall. Because if you died, I say, the mission would probably reboot, and I really don't want to start over. His lips twitch. So my life is worth your convenience. Exactly. Kale actually chuckles this time, warmer, quieter. The system explodes with pixel hearts. Affection plus 10. Stop that. I mutter. This isn't a dating sim. Scoring? Kale asks, tone curious. Nothing. Divine accounting. He studies me like he's cataloging every word, then finally sighs. Bring him food, he tells the guards. Proper food, not scraps. The guards blink, startled. My lord, you heard me. I need him alive. Kale's gaze flickers back to me. At least until I understand what kind of chaos he represents. Flattering, I say dryly. He ignores that. And if you truly mean to reform me, St. G, then prove I need reforming. And with that, he turns and leaves, cloak sweeping behind him like punctuation. The heavy door slams shut. I flop back onto my cot, staring up at the cracked ceiling. The system pops up again, confetti animation and all. Progress update. You made the villain smile. New reward. Warm meal and psychological confusion. I drag a hand down my face. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Positive reinforcement increases user motivation. I'll positively reinforce deleting you. Would you like to unlock bonus objective? Make him laugh again? I pull the blanket over my head. I'm done. Auto accepted. The candle sputters. The air grows still. Somewhere above, I can faintly hear Kale's voice. Low, thoughtful. Maybe he's laughing again. Maybe he's wondering what kind of idiot was sent to fix him. Either way, I can tell one thing for sure. This redemption mission has officially gone off script. And I'm starting to suspect the system's idea of reform involves romance subplots I never signed up for. Chapter 4. Mission: Don't Die Again. By some cosmic glitch or Kale Verdon's questionable sense of humor, I'm still alive. Apparently, I'm amusing. His words. Personally, I think he just likes watching me suffer creatively. The system celebrates anyway. Survival achievement unlocked. Too sarcastic to execute. Wow. I mutter, really living the dream. Later, a guard escorts me to Kale's study. A cathedral of books, maps, and ambient menace. Obsidian shelves line the walls, lit by violet flame. At the far end sits the demon Duke himself, posture too perfect to be human, surrounded by half-drawn war plans and relics that hum faintly, like they're judging me. I've decided to test your usefulness, Kale says, voice as smooth as the marble desk between us. The corrupted forest east of here is spreading. If you are truly blessed, perhaps you can purify it. I blink. You're sending me into cursed woods to prove my holiness. He inclines his head. Think of it as a performance review. I sigh. Do I at least get hazard pay? His mouth almost twitches. No. The system pings like it's proud of him. Main quest accepted. Purify the forest of shadows. Great. Another suicide mission disguised as divine purpose. By dusk, I find myself on horseback, clinging to the reins while Kale rides ahead like he was born in a painting. Posture straight, hair flawless, armor catching the light like a cinematic filter. Meanwhile, I'm trying not to fall off my horse or my sanity. Do you ride? He asks without looking back. Only emotional roller coasters, I mutter. He actually hums. It might be amusement, might be pity, hard to tell. When we reach the forest, the stench hits first, rot and old magic. The trees are blackened, pulsing faintly like veins under skin. Shadows breathe between the branches. The system flickers into view. Warning: environmental corruption detected. Tip: cooperation increases survival and emotional synchronization. Please stop saying emotional synchronization, I whisper. Kale glances at me. Talking to yourself again? Talking to my intrusive thoughts. They're very motivated. He gives a quiet hum that sounds suspiciously like a laugh, then draws his sword, obsidian and silver, glowing faintly with runes. Stay close, he orders. I do, mostly because dying alone sounds worse than dying near him. The shadows stir. Shapes emerge. Smoke with claws, teeth where logic says there shouldn't be any. Kale moves like water through flame. Every strike precise, elegant, terrifying. I, meanwhile, swing a half-broken staff and scream like divine help might arrive via noise complaint. Then instinct kicks in. My hands burn, light bursts, and the darkness recoils. One creature disintegrates under a flash of white gold energy. Combo action. Shared glory. Relationship level +5. Stop narrating my trauma, I yell. Kale spares a quick glance. Breathing hard, hair disheveled enough to be illegal. You handle yourself better than expected. That was 90% panic, 10% luck. He smirks faintly. Effective panic, then. Before I can reply, another monster lunges at his back. I shove him out of the way on reflex, light flaring again. The creature dissolves, gone in a blaze of sanctified pixels. Kale grabs my wrist mid-motion, eyes sharp. You! And that's when the system betrays me. Trigger event. Heroic save detected. Activating romantic cinematic mode. The air literally slows. Strings swell. Sparkles fall from nowhere. Kale blinks. Why is it suddenly snowing petals? It's pollen, I say weakly. Allergies. Probably. He stares, torn between irritation and amusement. Bonus points. Intense eye contact +10. I hiss under my breath. System. I will uninstall you with holy fire. Kale lets go, clearing his throat. You are quite strange, St. G. Occupational hazard. When the last monster falls, the forest quiets. The darkness peels away from the soil, leaving soft green under fading twilight. The system bursts into virtual applause. Quest complete. Teamwork achieved. Emotional resonance level. Questionable but promising. Kale sheathes his sword and studies me. Expression unreadable. Perhaps this partnership has potential. Yeah, potential homicide, maybe. He actually smiles, small, fleeting, but undeniably real. We camp near the forest's edge that night. The fire crackles, throwing gold light across his face. He's silent for a long while before asking, "You truly don't fear me?" I poke the fire with a stick. I'm too tired to be scared. Fear takes energy. Or faith, he murmurs. Both are in short supply. The system interrupts, smug as ever. Mission summary. Life saved, heart touched, romance progress +7%. I groan and flop onto my bedroll. I'm supposed to reform you, not date you. Why not both? Because I like breathing. Statistically, romance improves survival rate. Statistically, you're broken. Across the flames, Kale glances over. Talking to your gods again? Yeah, I mutter. They won't stop shipping us. He chuckles, low and dangerous. Maybe they're onto something. The system dings like an excited fangirl. Affection +20. I close my eyes, whispering, mission objective. Don't die. Secondary objective. Don't catch feelings. At this rate, I'm failing both. Chapter 5. Glitches, gods, and getting carried, literally. By dawn, I've confirmed 2 things. 1. Kale Verdon's version of a short patrol involves an entire military unit, a siege beast, and enough danger to void divine insurance. 2. My holy magic apparently has a cooldown, a personality, and the comedic timing of a drunk pigeon. The system, naturally, sounds delighted. Quest update. Sub-boss encounter. Corrupted behemoth detected. Sub-boss. I shout as something massive moves in the fog. I didn't even finish the tutorial. The creature bursts from the ruins ahead. A nightmare made of claws, smoke, and bad texture rendering. Its body pulses with violet light, its eyes like molten glass. Every step shakes the earth. Kale doesn't flinch. Of course he doesn't. Even when he's knee-deep in apocalyptic horror, his cape still manages to billow on cue. Focus. Aim for the heart. He orders, sword gleaming. Which one? I yell. It looks like it's got 6. I raise a hand, summon divine light, and fire. Only for my holy beam to hit the monster square in the face and fizzle like a dying glow stick. Encouragement. You tried your best. Stop patronizing me, you sentient spreadsheet. Kale lunges, blade cutting through shadow and corruption. His strikes are clean, controlled, almost too graceful for someone covered in blood. I try to assist by blinding the enemy with more holy light. It works if the goal was to annoy it. The beast roars, swinging its tail. Kale dodges. I don't. Pain blooms across my ribs as I hit the ground hard. Dust, blood, dignity, gone. Critical condition detected. Activating comfort scene number 1. The bridal carry. Oh, don't you dare. The world slows. The light softens. The system literally adds a sepia filter. Kale's face hovers above mine, jaw tight. You're hurt. Just my pride. I groan. And possibly everything below the neck. Before I can crawl away, he scoops me up, effortlessly, like this is just another Tuesday. The system purrs. Now playing. Soft piano romance theme number 3. Put me down. I hiss. You can't walk. I can crawl. Gracefully. He ignores me, stepping through the battlefield with infuriating calm. Soldiers part in silence as their terrifying warlord carries the disheveled saint in full bridal formation. I catch snippets of whispers. Is that the holy envoy? Apparently. The duke's carrying him like a relic. Saints above. They're glowing. I want to evaporate. Petals start falling from the sky. Actual pink petals. Kale frowns. Why is it snowing? It's, spiritual pollen. Allergic season. Romantic ambience level. 87%. Optimal emotional tension achieved. System. I will invent holy malware just to delete you. I whisper. Kale glances down. Talking to yourself again? Yes. It's either that or scream. Do both, he says mildly. Might help. By the time we reach camp, my embarrassment has evolved into an entire spiritual crisis. Kale sets me down gently on a bedroll, his hands lingering a moment too long. You're reckless, he says quietly, pushing me aside like that. It was instinct. I didn't think. You rarely do. Wow. Thanks for the moral support. He doesn't smile this time. Instead, he kneels beside me, one hand hovering over my chest. The air hums as faint gold light seeps through his palm. Not demonic, but warm, steady. I blink. You can heal? Minor restoration magic. I've studied it. His tone is soft, unreadable. The warmth spreads through my ribs, numbing the pain. The glow reflects in his eyes, gold against shadow. New scene triggered. Intimate proximity detected. Background track. Tender strings variation number 2. Kale frowns slightly. Is someone playing music? No, I say quickly. You're imagining it. Auditory corruption. Happens all the time. He stares for a beat, clearly unconvinced, then returns to the spell. There. Better? Physically? Yeah. Emotionally? Let's call it a work in progress. A small laugh escapes him. You're impossible. And yet here I am, still not dead. He rises, expression back to its usual composure. Rest, St. G. Tomorrow we move again. As he turns away, the firelight catches on his armor, gilding the edges of his silhouette. For a second, he looks almost human. Then he's gone. The system hovers into view, smug and blinking pink. Congratulations. Comfort scene completed successfully. I throw a blanket over it. If I die, it's your fault. Noted. Outside, the soldiers whisper about the Duke and his holy envoy. I can practically hear the fanfiction forming in real time. I sigh into the blanket. Mission objective: don't die. Secondary objective: never get carried again. The system pings ominously. Comfort scene number 2. In development. You wouldn't. Would. Chapter 6. The fanfic files begin. Some mornings start with sunlight, birdsong, and peace. Mine starts with a notification about fandom activity. When I open my eyes, the tent is quiet except for the crackle of the campfire outside. My ribs still ache faintly from yesterday's heroic bridal carry. I roll over, bad idea, and the system lights up above my face like an overexcited ghost. New feature unlocked. Shipmaster Creative Mode. I squint. Creative Mode? You already create trauma. Correction. Content creation. Boosts morale and audience engagement. What audience? I ask warily. The divine observers. They love your emotional development. That's when I notice the floating feed beside the interface. Hundreds of golden hearts drift upward, each tagged hashtag SaintXDukeForever and hashtag enemies to soulmates. I sit up so fast my ribs protest. What did you do? Uploaded bonus material to the Divine Archives. I scroll through the list of bonus material. Moonlit hearts. Bound by destiny. A kiss to cleanse the darkness. Oh no, they're performing very well. 5,000 heavenly bookmarks in the first hour. I swear, if you wrote smut, only emotional intimacy scenes rated PG-16. That's not reassuring. I grab a pillow and try to suffocate the interface. The pillow passes right through it. Too late. A knock sounds outside. Enter. Kale's deep voice calls. Panic. I hiss at the hologram. Delete the files. Hide the evidence. Pretend none of this happened. Too late. Target has accessed archive entry number 3. Under starlight, we confess. What? How? The tent flap lifts. Kale steps inside, black cloak immaculate, expression unreadable, and holding a glowing divine scroll. I found this circulating in the capital, he says mildly. It seems familiar. I choke on air. Forgery. Blasphemy. Deep fake. He unrolls the scroll, scanning the text. His lips twitch. So, when exactly were you planning to kiss me under the stars? St. G? My brain blue screens. When hell freezes. Oh wait, it already did. Kale actually laughs. The sound is rich, unguarded, and completely unfair. It's not funny, I sputter. That thing is propaganda. Oh, it's certainly creative propaganda. He taps a paragraph. Their gazes met like swords clashing in moonlight. A touch dramatic, don't you think? I didn't write it. So your system did. He says it so casually I almost scream. You knew. I suspected. Your glowing companion isn't exactly subtle. His eyes flick toward the hovering interface. Now it's writing literature. I glare at the hologram. Congratulations. You've destroyed my reputation. Correction. Enhanced your public image. Readers love reluctant romance arcs. Kale's smirk deepens. Reluctant, HM? That's the word you'd choose. I'd choose several others, most of them unholy. He takes a slow step closer, amusement glinting like gold in his eyes. The system, traitor that it is, starts beeping like a heart monitor. Relax, St. G. I'm not offended, he says quietly. Good, because I'm mortified enough for both of us. He rolls the scroll back up and tucks it into his cloak. Perhaps I'll keep it, he muses. You will not keep the fanfiction. Try and stop me. Affection plus 30. Bonus title unlocked. Demon Duke's favorite author. I hate you, I whisper. Love detected. I said hate. Autocorrect. Sunder affection acknowledged. Kale chuckles. You know, for all its melodrama, the story has one redeeming line, which is, he quotes softly, even if fate resets the world, his heart will find him again. A pause. Not a terrible sentiment. Something in his tone makes my stomach twist. I look away, pretending to fix my bandages. It's terrible writing, predictable, cliché. Yet you blushed, he murmurs. Shut up. He only smiles, that faint, infuriating curve of lips that says he knows exactly what he's doing. Then he leaves the tent, still carrying the cursed scroll like a trophy. Silence falls, except for the system pinging cheerfully. Why would you post that publicly? I groan. Emotional transparency encourages spiritual growth. Encourage my fist. Fan request received. When will the next chapter release? I throw my pillow through the hologram again. Useless. The system pings one last message. Now drafting sequel. The Saint and the Demon Duke, Moonlight Redux. Outside, Kale's laughter carries through the camp, warm, low, and maddeningly entertained. I bury my face in my hands. Mission objective. Delete the internet. Auto accepted. Chapter 7. Adventuring with a straight face. Failing. If there's one thing I've learned since being trapped in this so-called holy mission, it's that routine fieldwork is just divine code for convenient suffering. The system's latest quest briefing read. Objective. Investigate minor mana contagion in the northern frontier. Translation. Walk directly into a magical apocalypse with inadequate supplies and emotional instability. We'd been riding for 2 days through a forest that looked half dead, half angry. The trees were black-veined and humming with dark energy, the air thick like spoiled incense. Kale rode ahead, his cloak catching the dying light, all brooding grace and moral ambiguity. Meanwhile, I trailed behind, silently composing my resignation letter to every god involved in this cosmic mistake. System, I muttered under my breath. Status update. Warning. Plague-level mana distortion at 89%. Fantastic. So we're all dying stylishly. Kale's voice drifted back. Talking to your invisible companion again? I prefer to call it my lifelong tormentor. Keeps me humble. You could mute it. If only I could mute you too. He half-turned, lips twitching. You'd get bored. And that's how I knew I was doomed. Because Kale Verdon, the allegedly soulless demon duke, was starting to joke back. By dusk, we reached what remained of a village. Houses twisted under vines that pulsed faintly, roofs caved in, the well coughing out black mist. The air shimmered with corrupted mana, pressing heavy against my chest. This place is cursed, I said. Kale dismounted, drawing his sword. Obviously. Stay close. I'd rather not die at all, thanks. We made our way to a half-collapsed temple at the village center. Inside, the walls were cracked, the altar split in two. Floating above the ruin was an orb of tar-black energy, pulsing like a heart. That's the source, Kale said, stepping forward. The system chimed cheerfully. Warning. External interference detected. Translation. Incoming chaos. A group of figures burst from the shadows. Not monsters this time, but armed scavengers. Bandits, desperate or stupid enough to raid a cursed zone. Kale moved like a storm. His blade cut arcs of silver light through the darkness, cloak flaring behind him like a curtain of night. I, meanwhile, hid behind divine debris and tried not to die. Behind you, I yelled. Too late. A fire arrow struck the ground near my feet, exploding into flame. I stumbled backward, tripped on a broken tile, and that's when Kale lunged for me. We both went over the cliff behind the temple. Because, of course, there was a cliff. The world turned into rushing wind and a crash of freezing water. The river swallowed us whole. For a moment, I thought the system had muted my soul. Then I surfaced, coughing, sputtering, and swearing. Kale dragged us both toward the bank with grim efficiency. His hair plastered to his face, armor dripping. Next time, I gasped. We take the stairs. He coughed water and glared. You talk too much. That's what keeps me alive. We stumbled into a shallow cave nearby, soaked, shivering, and exhausted. My robes clung miserably to my skin. Kale's usual demonic elegance had been reduced to a half-drowned glare, though he still somehow managed to look like a tragic oil painting. The temperature dropped fast. My teeth chattered. The system, ever helpful, pinged a new message. Emergency warmth sharing protocol activated. I froze. No, absolutely not. Kale glanced over, one brow arching. Warmth sharing. It's bugged. Ignore it. Recommended action. Physical proximity for optimal survival. He took one step closer. Don't, I warned. If you touch me, I'm deleting reality. He stopped for exactly 1 second. Then we'll freeze together. That's not romantic, that's suicidal. Maybe both. Before I could protest, he shrugged off his half-torn cloak and wrapped it around both of us, pulling me against him with terrifying efficiency. His body heat hit instantly, solid, steady, unfairly comforting. This is entirely professional, I managed. Of course, he murmured, voice low near my ear. Purely survival-driven. Exactly. Zero feelings. All logic. You're trembling. It's the cold, not your face, thanks. He chuckled softly. The sound vibrated against my back. Deep, quiet, and horribly pleasant. Affection plus 40. Scene tagged. Cave of warmth. I glared into the air. System. I will uninstall you with a rock. Processing threat as flirtation attempt. Kale's breath brushed my ear. Your invisible friend seems to ship us. Don't say that word. Ship? Yes. He chuckled again, the sound turning warmer than the fireless air around us. Too late. Outside, the wind groaned through the forest, a sound like the world collapsing. But for one suspended moment, there was silence. Just 2 heartbeats, too close, too loud. I closed my eyes. This doesn't mean anything. Of course not, he murmured, though his voice didn't sound convinced. And because fate has no mercy, the system chose that moment to play soft violin music. Chapter 8. Kiss number 1. The accidental one. I've endured many humiliations since being reborn. Waking up in incense-scented rags. Being accused of flirting with a literal demon. Sharing professional warmth in a cave. But none compare to what happened in the Capitol courtyard. It began innocently enough. After the plague mission, read, cliff diving disaster, Kale and I returned to the Capitol to report to the king. The mission had technically been a success. Corruption sealed, forest stabilized, minimal casualties. The Capitol, in its infinite wisdom, decided this called for celebration. Trumpets blared. Banners unfurled. Nobles preened in imported silk, pretending they weren't terrified of the man who once burned half the frontier for disobedience. I stood beside Kale on the ceremonial dais, trying to look like a saint and not a sleep-deprived fraud. The system, naturally, was thrilled. System update complete. New feature unlocked. Romantic expression autocorrection. Auto what? I whispered. Feature ensures physical gestures align with optimal emotional impact. That sounds unethical. Correction. Aesthetic. I didn't have time to argue. Kale stood at my side in full ceremonial armor. Black steel etched with silver sigils, cape sweeping like a shadow come to life. The man looked composed, controlled, untouchable. The sunlight glanced off his pauldrons, catching in his hair like he'd bribed the gods for better lighting. I hated how cinematic he looked next to my wrinkled robes. Then the king began his speech, something about redemption, unity, and divine cooperation. I tuned most of it out. My only plan was to smile, nod, and escape before the nobles cornered me for spiritual selfies. And then Kale swayed. I turned just as his posture faltered. For a split second, he blinked like he'd lost focus, then collapsed. The crowd screamed. Priests rushed forward. Someone yelled his name. I dropped to my knees beside him, panic jolting through me. Kale. Hey. No. You don't get to die during a ceremony. His lips were faintly tinted violet. Poison. subtle, fast-acting. My mind raced. I tore through my satchel, finding a vial of healing elixir, fingers trembling. System: initiate antidote protocol. Auto-assisting, prioritizing emotional impact delivery. What does that mean? Too late. As I leaned forward to pour the potion between his lips, something yanked my wrist. An invisible pull, perfectly timed and terrifyingly precise. My hand slipped, my balance went out, and before I understood what was happening, my lips crashed into his. Time stopped. The courtyard went silent except for the echo of my heartbeat pounding in my skull. Kale's breath caught. His eyes fluttered open mid-contact. Sharp, startled, painfully aware. For a fraction of a second, neither of us moved. His lips were cool at first, then faintly warm beneath mine, the kind of warmth that burned straight through my panic. And then the system decided to ruin the moment. Achievement unlocked. True love heals all. Light flared. Actual divine light, cascading over the courtyard like a heavenly spotlight. Kale exhaled sharply, color flooding back into his face. The poison mark on his skin dissolved. The nobles gasped. Priest dropped his staff. Somewhere, a bard began to weep. I jerked back so fast I nearly dislocated my neck. That wasn't... I didn't. Kale, still half reclined, stared up at me with an expression that could only be described as deeply entertained. Interesting remedy, he said softly. I was trying to pour a potion. A noblewoman fainted. Another whispered, "Did you see? The saint kissed the duke." The phrase spread through the crowd like wildfire, gathering volume and scandalized awe. I turned to the system, hissing, "What the hell was that?" Romantic autocorrection successful. Target's vitals restored via affection energy exchange. You used my mouth as a healing conduit? Correct. Shared breath facilitates emotional synchronization and narrative resonance. That's not science. Kale slowly sat up, brushing his hair back with infuriating calm. Well, he said dryly, that was dramatic. I wanted to sink into the flagstones and respawn somewhere far, far away. For the record, I'm suing every deity involved. He tilted his head, eyes glinting. Then whose idea was it? The cosmic embodiment of bad coding. His mouth curved faintly. I'll have to thank it later. Please don't. He rose, all poise and unbothered grace, and turned toward the still stunned audience. The saint has cured me, he declared, voice steady, projecting perfectly. His methods are unconventional but effective. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cheers. Trumpets blared. Flower petals rained down. The system, because it hated me personally, played triumphant music titled Eternal Union Theme. Kale glanced sideways, lowering his voice. You're blushing. I'm overheating from shame. Either way, he murmured, leaning close enough for my breath to hitch. It suits you, the system dinged smugly. Affection plus 70. Bonus scene unlocked. Public declaration route. Clenched my jaw. System, if you trigger one more route, I'm rewriting your code with fire. Request denied. Love cannot be undone. Kale chuckled under his breath as the court chanted our names like it was the engagement of the century. Smile, St. G. You're the hero of the day. I'm the punchline of a divine joke. Then, he said, that dangerous smirk returning, at least it's a good one. I stared at the petals falling through the sunlight, the crowd roaring around us, the absurdity of it all closing in like fate laughing in my face. Because saving the villain was one thing. Accidentally kissing him in front of an entire kingdom? That was the true beginning of the end. Chapter 9. I'm not blushing, it's heatstroke. After the public kiss debacle, I hoped for a week of low-profile chores and minimal melodrama. The universe laughed. Kale, apparently, finds my suffering excellent material for banter. For 3 days he's been harvesting my humiliation like it's a crop. Your healing technique is avant-garde, he'd say in the corridor. Do you accept tips? Or, should I faint again so you can practice? He says it like he's joking. I say it like I'm plotting slow, tasteful revenge. The system, of course, thinks this is all charming. My interface pings like a lovesick app. New side quest. Hold hands during sunset walk. Optional bonus. Whisper his name tenderly. Penalty for refusal. -10 affection. I ignore the pop-ups, which is about as effective as ignoring a honking carriage. Meanwhile, the real problem is a cult trying to resurrect an underrealm god. You'd think an apocalyptic ritual would distract the system. You'd be wrong. We ride at dawn into the ashen wastes. Land that looks like someone left the world in grayscale. Wind scours the ground. Ruins jut like broken teeth. Kale dismounts and brushes dust from a crumbling obelisk. He traces a sigil with a single finger. They're siphoning mana from below, he says. If they finish, the god wakes. Can't we reschedule? My emotional reserves are on backorder. I pull my hood up against the dust. No, he glances at me as if the word should be motivation. Move. We creep into the temple ruin. The central chamber is a bowl of darkness with a pulsing black orb in the center, like a heartbeat you feel in your teeth. The cultists chant in a throaty chorus. Their robes shimmer. Veins of mana crawl through the floor. Of course they're alarmed when we interrupt. Bandits? Cultists? Same difference. They swarm. Kale becomes a blade-painted storm. I try to support, spamming purification bolts that feel more like cough syrup than holy justice. Then a spell slams into me. It hits the obelisk. It hits my spine. Colors streak from the edges of my vision. I go dizzy, taste iron, and realize my mana is leaking out like bad tap water. Ji-yoon. Kale's voice is marble and panic. He's there in 2 steps, gripping my shoulders. Can you stand? Dizzy, I rasp. System. Status? Warning. Mana reserves critically low. Initiate emergency transfer? Y/N. Yes, I mouth. Processing. New subroutine detected. Bonding sequence. Kiss to share mana red heart. I snort out a laugh that turns into a choke. Cancel. Abort. Revert to manual. Kale's brow lifts. What now? The system's trying to pair bond us to transfer power. I say. It's no. Just no. Synchronization required. Proceed with physical contact. He looks at me then, and something in his face folds in the way my stomach does when I forget to breathe. The world narrows to the distance between us. The cultists' chants smear into background noise. You heard the system, he says. If you do that I will. I mean it. I have a list of threats involving firewalls and holy magnets. He doesn't hesitate. He steps forward, hand steady at my jaw. His mouth touches mine. This time not an accident, not a puppet's correction, but deliberate. The kiss is a clamp of heat and pressure and something electric that isn't the system. Magic snaps between us like a live wire. I feel his breath, hot, steadier than my own, blend into me. The dizziness flips. Instead of draining, mana surges from him into me, warm and thunderous. It isn't tender. It's survival. Shared power threading into my veins, knitting the gray edges back to color. The system pings so many achievements I swear I hear trumpets. Mana transfer successful. Affection plus 100. Achievement unlocked. Kiss of salvation revolving hearts. The cultists stop chanting and look at us like we've interrupted their ritual with a wedding. One whispers, "Is that ritual?" Another asks if that's the final step of the rite. Kale pulls his mouth from mine and says without irony, "Apparently yes." I wheeze out, "You can't just save your outrage." He flips his sword as if slicing peril is the next polite thing to do. They're still here. We fight, together now. My spells have weighed again. His shadow magic threads with mine into a storm that roars through the ruin. Light and dark braid and shred the orb's skin. The obelisk splinters. The chanting dies. When the dust falls, the obelisk is rubble and the desert taste in my mouth is gone. I stand, heartbeat ragged, cheeks embarrassingly hot. Kale wipes a smear of blood from his lip and looks at me, that same irritating smirk of his. See? Teamwork. Effective therapy would be me forgetting we ever kissed. I reply, trying to sound casual and failing spectacularly. He steps closer. You're blushing. It's heatstroke. The desert. Sunday climate change. I gesture wildly. Of course. He smiles like he believes me and like he doesn't. Whatever helps you sleep. The system chimes with a smug tone. Side quest complete. Kiss to share mana red heart. Bonus. Denial level maximum. I stare into the empty air. One day, I'll throw you into a firewall. I mean it, and the system cheerfully translates it as flirting. Kale laughs softly, that low sound that makes my throat do things I don't approve of. For a horrible second, I almost laugh too. Then I clench my jaw and remember the ruins, the cultists, the orb. We won. We are alive. I am mortified. The system is gleeful. Survival, tick. Mortification, ongoing. Denial, mandatory. Mission update, don't die again. Sub-update, stop blushing, you idiot. Chapter 10, Error, Emotional Overload. I knew the system had finally gone off the rails when it started playing background music mid-battle. 1 second, Kale and I were fighting a corrupted monstrosity the size of a cathedral. The next, violins swelled out of thin air, rich, tragic, far too romantic for the occasion. And a glowing hologram appeared above the battlefield like divine gossip theater. Now playing, greatest hits of St. G and Duke Kale, A Love in Progress Revolving Hearts. I froze mid-spell as clips projected into the air. Our first meeting, me yelling, I come in peace, while Kale nearly decapitated me. The cave warmth incident, don't touch me. And of course, the capital kiss, delete this footage. Kale sliced a monster in half without even looking. He glanced at the hologram, perfectly calm. What? He asked. In all 9 realms is that? My personal nightmare. I hissed, firing a burst of light that vaporized a stray limb. System. Stop the montage before I uninstall you with holy fire. Processing request. Emotional resonance level, 98%. Continuing playback for audience engagement. The screen transitioned to slow motion. Kale carrying me bridal style through smoke, sparks flying. The corrupted beasts actually paused, watching like they were at a premiere. I could feel judgment radiating from every single one of them. System, I swear. Then came the kill shot. Achievement highlight. Kiss number 1. True love heals all. Kale turned his head just slightly, one dark brow arched mid-swing. You should really keep your archives private. Tell that to the thing hijacking reality. I snapped. The violins swelled louder, tragic yet suspiciously smug. Query. Why are you resisting emotional development? Because I didn't sign up for a romance simulator. Incorrect. Subject Ji-yoon died debugging one. That shut me up. For about 2 seconds. Then Kale's voice cut through the noise. Lower than usual, thoughtful in a way that made me nervous. What if it's right? I blinked at him. Excuse me? You're agreeing with the cosmic stalker now. He lowered his blade, eyes tracking the glitching horizon. This world, the missions, the way everything resets around us. Maybe none of this is real. You're having an existential crisis now? I shouted, dodging a claw swipe the size of a tree. He caught the beast's tail with a burst of blackfire mana, freezing it mid-air. Would explain a lot. The glitches, the audience. I didn't have a comeback, because he wasn't wrong, and because the music began to distort, violins melting into static. Warning. Memory corruption detected. Attempting emotional stabilization, the battlefield shuddered. For a heartbeat, I saw 2 Kales, one smiling under moonlight, one bleeding out. The images overlapped like corrupted frames. Then everything went white. I blinked and found myself floating in a vast digital void. No sky, no ground, just endless light and thousands of flickering data screens orbiting me. Each one held fragments of my life. Scenes, dialogue, even my internal monologue written out like code. System. My voice echoed too loud. Apologies. Temporary overload caused by excessive emotional input. Define excessive. Subject Ji-yoon has triggered 427 conflicting romantic flags. I what? Opening diagnostic files for review. The list unfurled before me. Accidental kiss #1 at MP4. Cave warmth XE. Saint Duke _ emotional MOV. And at the bottom, glowing like sin itself. Sip. No. I whispered. No, no, no. Opening archive for emotional optimization. The folder burst open in a kaleidoscope of cursed content. Fan art thumbnails, story drafts, an actual script titled KaleConfessionRoute.txt. System. Delete that right now. Cannot delete content with high user engagement. High user. There's a fandom? Affirmative. Divine observers adore your chemistry. Oh my gods. A new voice cut through the void. Ji-yoon. I spun. Kale stood among the data fog, his outline flickering between armor and pixels. His eyes swept the floating files unreadable. What is this place? My personal hell, I said automatically. Then his gaze landed on the glowing folder behind me. He read aloud, very slowly. Zip. You have a folder. It's not mine. His mouth curved just a little. A bit forward of you, Saint G. I threw my hands up. I'm going to self-destruct. Warning. Emotional overload approaching critical threshold. Recommendation. Kiss to stabilize timeline. Don't. You. Dare. Kale tilted his head, and the glitch light caught in his eyes like fractured stars. It does seem to work every time, he murmured. I will drag you into the recycling bin myself. He stepped closer. Static danced between us, each step rewriting the floor beneath him. Maybe we're both just corrupted code, he said softly. 2 errors caught in the same loop. My throat locked. Kale. The light surged around us. His outline flickered closer, warm, unreal, terrifyingly familiar. Then the system's final message rang out, cheerful and cruel. Congratulations. Ship integrity, 100%. OTP status confirmed. Reality fractured into sound and brightness. Kale's form dissolved. The last thing I heard was my own voice echoing through the collapsing code. I am never debugging another romance game again. Then everything went dark. Chapter 11. Into the abyss and out of denial. There are a lot of things I expected to encounter in my ongoing transmigration career. Demons, divine paperwork, sarcastic gods. But a dungeon that literally reads your suppressed emotions? Absolutely not on the list. The abyss rift sprawled before us like the world's most ominous screensaver. The entrance gaped open like a mouth carved from void itself, rimmed in violet light and whispering something that sounded disturbingly like confess. I stared into the abyss and it stared right back, clearly unimpressed. This seems safe, I said dryly. Kale, ever the picture of Gothic elegance, adjusted his gloves and tilted his head. The faint glow of the portal painted sharp lines along his face, his expression unreadable behind the black half-mask. You can stay behind, he said, and miss the chance to emotionally implode in a cursed cave with you? Pass. He smirked faintly, the corner of his mouth twitching. Therapy requires honesty. You'd combust. I'd thrive, I said proudly. In denial. The system chirped to life, way too cheerful for the setting. Welcome to the Abyss Rift. Warning. This zone manifests illusions reflecting your deepest, repressed emotions. I hate that sentence, I muttered. Acknowledged. Emotional discomfort detected. Initiating exposure therapy. Please don't, I hissed. Kale glanced over his shoulder. Talking to your ghost again? I'm talking about it. There's a difference. We stepped through the threshold. The world folded inward. The descent felt wrong, like walking through water and smoke at once. Gravity bent sideways. My heartbeat echoed 3 times instead of 1. The air tasted like static. With every step, the walls shimmered, displaying brief flashes of memories. My old world, Kale's battles, that cursed kiss in the capital. The system flickered, stuttering through corrupted code. Then a voice slithered through the dark. Sounded like me, but softer, certain. What do you really want, Ji-yoon? I tightened my grip on my staff. I want to go home. The ground didn't agree. Light rippled beneath my feet, and before I could blink, the world shifted. Suddenly, I stood in a moonlit garden. Petals drifted through silver air. A faint melody played somewhere in the distance. Slow, romantic, aggressively manipulative. And there he was, Kale, barefoot in the grass, his cloak gone, shirt open just enough to make every god in heaven sigh in disapproval. Moonlight traced the edge of his collarbone. Oh no, absolutely not, I whispered. The system pinged innocently. Illusion manifest. Core desire visualization active. Deactivate. Delete. Bury it. Error. Denial detected. Rendering continues. Fake Kale turned toward me, his expression soft and unbearably sincere. Ji-yoon, he said in that voice that could ruin nations. You've always been the light that guides. Nope, no monologues. We're not doing this, I shouted, clapping my hands over my ears. He kept walking closer. I've watched you fight, suffer, protect, even when you were afraid. I'm calling emotional HR. Unable to terminate sequence until acceptance threshold reached. System, I swear, if this turns into a musical number. What is that? Came Kale's real voice. I froze. The real Kale stood at the edge of the illusion, arms crossed, the faintest look of horrified amusement spreading over his face. Oh good, I muttered. Now you're seeing my mental breakdown in 4K. He took in the scene, the illusion version of himself, the moonlight, the romantic framing, and laughed. Softly, slowly, like it was the best entertainment he'd had in years. That was informative, he said. It's propaganda, I snapped. System propaganda. MHM. And yet, the resemblance is uncanny. The resemblance of what, exactly? The way you looked at him. That shut me up. Fake Kale smiled one last time before dissolving into starlight, leaving the air thick with glowing petals and humiliation. Real Kale stepped closer, shadows and light sliding over his face. So, he murmured, you dream about me, shirtless, under moonlight. I dream about escaping this cursed simulation. He leaned just close enough that the air buzzed. Then you might want to tell your subconscious that. The system chimed helpfully. Emotional honesty plus 27%. Progress autosaved. Stop saving my emotional data, I snapped. Kale chuckled, low and dangerous. For the first time, I caught the faintest flicker of color under his composed mask. Something human, amused, maybe even fond. Come on, he said, turning toward the next tunnel. We have a cult to dismantle, and apparently a lot of feelings you need to confront. I'm confronting you with an exorcism if you mention this again. Duly noted. The abyss rift trembled, the illusion dissolving into nothing but faint motes of light. For a brief heartbeat, our reflections overlapped in the mirrored void, my white aura bleeding into his shadowed one. Light and dark, code and glitch, opposites written into the same line of reality. I hated how right it looked. System, I muttered. Next update better include a denial patch. Request denied. Emotional growth too entertaining. Of course. Kale looked back at me, smirk still in place. Ready, St. G? Emotionally? Never. And still, I followed him into the next nightmare anyway. Petals dissolving behind us, and somewhere deep in the datacode sky, I could have sworn the system giggled. Chapter 12. Kiss number 3. The real one, unfortunately sincere. If there's one thing I've learned from this entire divine farce, it's that destiny loves drama. And apparently so does Kale Verdon. The final chamber of the abyss rift was tearing itself apart. Walls cracked open like broken glass, bleeding molten light into the air. The ground pulsed underfoot, veins of corrupted mana glowing through the stone. Every heartbeat came with a new quake, a new shuddering groan from a world that was collapsing faster than I could curse it. Kale stood in front of the rift's exposed core, its black heart, his torn cloak billowing in the chaos. He looked calm, tragic, beautiful in the worst possible way. I hated it. Don't, I said, stumbling toward him through the shaking floor. Whatever self-sacrificial idiocy you're planning, cancel it. He didn't even turn at first, just stared at the swirling void ahead. It's the only way. My blood carries the demon seal. Yours doesn't. Correction, I snapped. My sarcasm does. It's a universal solvent. That earned me a small, fleeting smile, the kind that always came right before he did something unforgivably noble. Ji-yoon, he said quietly. You've done enough. Don't you dare say that. I grabbed his wrist before he could step forward. You don't get to martyr yourself while I'm still here yelling at bad code. The system flickered into view beside us, its interface glitching in and out like a dying star. Warning. World integrity at 3%. Core collapse imminent. Recommended solution. Destiny override protocol. Emotional synchronization required. I blinked. Emotional what now? Translation. Kiss him like you mean it. I froze. You're joking. System never jokes about true love. System, I will uninstall you. Kale finally turned. Blood streaked down his temple, his eyes glowing faintly with residual power, dark fire and soft exhaustion. Ji-yoon, he asked, voice steady. What did it say? Nothing, I said too quickly. Just a minor software update. He raised a brow. The kind that requires? I sighed. Emotional synchronization. He stepped closer, so close the air buzzed between us. Explain. It means, I hissed. Apparently the universe now runs on affection-based problem-solving. The rift roared, black light surging outward. The floor split. The system screamed. Time remaining, 30 seconds. Kale didn't hesitate. Of course he didn't. He never did. He reached for me. One hand at my jaw, the other steadying my shoulder as if the world wasn't ending. Then let's not keep destiny waiting, he murmured, voice rough. I should have pushed him away. Should have protested, screamed, demanded logic. Instead, I grabbed his collar and kissed him first. It wasn't soft. It wasn't polite. It was desperate. Heat and cold colliding. Fury wrapped in fear. His breath hitched. Then he kissed me back, deep and unguarded. And for one impossible moment, the chaos fell silent. Light exploded behind my eyes. Magic surged through us, racing along every nerve, rewriting the world's breaking code. The rift howled like a wounded god. The air burned, and still I couldn't stop. The system's voice echoed faintly above the storm. Emotional synchronization achieved. Destiny override successful. When I finally broke away, gasping, the world was still trembling, but slower now, stabilizing. Kale's hands lingered on my face, thumb brushing my jaw as if memorizing it. His eyes, usually sharp as blades, were soft, open, terrifyingly human. You? I started, and immediately forgot how sentences worked. You, why? He smiled, small and wrecked. You really do care. I really do not, I said far too fast. That was strictly for plot integrity. The system chimed again, delighted. Achievement unlocked. True love stabilizes all worlds. Delete that, I hissed. Kale laughed. Actually laughed, warm and unguarded even as dust and light fell around us. If this is your idea of saving the world, he said, remind me to nearly die more often. Try it and I'll feed you to the rift myself, I warned, throat tight. But he didn't look afraid. He looked content. And that was the most terrifying part, because I didn't know where the act ended anymore. The rift faded into mist. The void light dimmed. The walls mended themselves like closing wounds. For a moment, it was as if nothing had ever happened. Except everything had. Kale's hand lingered, fingers brushing mine before he finally stepped back. Thank you, Saint G. I stared at the floor, cheeks burning hot enough to rival hellfire. Shut up. He smiled, gentle this time. As you wish. The system's last message blinked faintly before vanishing into static. Data saved. Ji-yoon plus Kale route. Canon confirmed. I groaned. Fantastic. We're official fanfiction now. Kale looked over his shoulder at the sealed rift, its glow fading into silence. If that's what it takes to keep you alive, he said quietly. I don't mind the label. I pretended not to hear him, but my heart, traitorous, glitch-ridden thing that it was, definitely did. Chapter 13. When the world rewrites itself. The world didn't explode this time. It just folded in on itself. 1 second, Kale and I were standing in the fading glow of the rift, half dead, half victorious. The next, the air split open like a screen tearing in half. The system's voice went full panic mode. Static, code, divine nonsense all mixing together. Error. World integrity below 0. Reconstructing stable dimension. Applying love route parameters. I didn't even get to say no before everything went white. When I opened my eyes again, I was alive, which was suspicious. The air smelled like flowers. The light was soft. Too soft. I was lying in a bed so big it could host a diplomatic summit. A canopy of gold silk hung above me, embroidered with symbols I recognized from Kale's crest. 2 phoenixes intertwined. Oh no, 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 no. I whispered. A door opened, and there he was. Kale Verdon, Demon Duke, reformed villain, my favorite headache. Only he wasn't wearing his usual dark armor. He was dressed in white and gold, hair tied neatly, smiling like the kind of man who bakes bread on weekends. Good morning, he said, voice softer than I'd ever heard it. You overslept again. Overslept? Excuse me? I sat up. What year is it? He blinked. You hit your head again, didn't you? He crossed the room, sat beside me, and, God's help me, brushed a strand of hair from my face. You've been working too hard, my love, my love, my love. I stared at him like he'd just confessed to being a singing squirrel. Did you just... What dimension of hell did I wake up in? He laughed softly, the kind of laugh that should be illegal. Still dramatic. Don't worry, the council already handled the border disputes. You can rest today. The what council? Wait, am I? Emperor, we co-rule the realm. Remember? You negotiated peace with the celestial houses last spring. He said simply. I blinked. I negotiated what? He leaned closer, that serene husband smile still in place. You've forgotten again. Maybe you need a break from all the politics. I could cancel our evening banquet. Banquet? Politics? Husband. How long was I unconscious? Kale chuckled and kissed my forehead. 3 days. But you're still as charmingly disoriented as ever. I froze. The system had gone silent. No pop-ups. No guidance. Just a perfect, eerily still world that behaved too well. I got up and stumbled to the balcony. Outside, the city was beautiful, sunlight glinting off white marble. Citizens cheering as banners of intertwined phoenixes fluttered in the breeze. Ours, mine and his. Everywhere I looked, there were paintings, statues, romantic depictions of Saint G and the Redeemed Duke. The stuff of fanfiction. Literal state propaganda. System. I hissed under my breath. If you're still running, I will personally uninstall you with holy fire. Silence. Kale appeared beside me, wrapping a hand around mine. His touch was gentle, familiar. It's all right, he murmured. Everything's finally as it should be. That line chilled me more than any demonic roar ever had. He looked at me. Not the calculating, sardonic Kale I knew, but someone warmer, smoother, almost too perfect. The kind of man who'd always say the right thing, never raise his voice, never falter. Kale, you're different, I said quietly. He smiled. You make me better. And just like that, I realized the system hadn't just rewritten the world. It had rewritten him. He pulled me close, his breath brushing my ear. Come back to bed, Ji-yoon. The world can wait. For a heartbeat, I almost let him. Almost believed this gentle version could be real. But deep down, I could feel it. The hum beneath the surface, the faint flicker in the air, like reality was still rendering. A perfect fairy tale painted over broken code. I smiled tightly. Yeah, sure. Let's pretend everything's fine. Kale's hand tightened just slightly, his expression unreadable. For a split second, I thought I saw something flicker behind his eyes. Static like the system peeking through. Then it was gone. Outside, the bells rang. The perfect kingdom celebrated its perfect rulers. And me? I just stood there, smiling like a man watching the credits roll, knowing damn well the story wasn't over.